Before I give you our founder and CEO, Sophie, I would like to very briefly give you a forward, so, a little provocation, I would say, and which is this, which is structure, no structure. There is a thinking somehow in the world of business these days that structure somehow is not that important. I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of talk about autonomy, about teamwork, collaboration. There is this feeling somehow that people, if they have good intentions, if they're motivated, and if the culture is right, somehow people will work together well, and projects will come to fruition. We even remember that ill-fated attempt by Zappos with Holacracy, where there was no effective management, where all the teams were self-organized, and that did not end well. What we understand, and for us, what structure is, and this is where we will go in greater depth, is that as important or even more important than the work itself is how it is done. So what we have learned and what we want to share with you is that structure is not necessarily an impediment to deployment, but rather the condition that serves that deployment. Maybe, you know, video sometimes speaks louder than words, so I'll share a very short one with you about us and about why we're here. So we are the STR suite. Why we exist is because, I mean, as you saw, structure is really very much like chemistry. You may have the right elements, but if these elements are not working together as they should, then not much happens. And so we are a boutique consultancy, and our mission is one simple but ambitious one, and it is to help companies deploy this strategy to the full by taking advantage of their structure, of all they have inside. And this we call inner strength. You might wonder why this is happening, but so the conclusion to which we come is that more often than not, companies are not able to take advantage of these internal resources, and there must be a reason. The name of STR is very simple to understand, is because for us, strategy and structure, not only do they share some letters in common, but one does not exist without the other. You may have the best design, thought out strategy, but if you don't have a structure to take it, to implement it, which can deliver it, then you won't go anywhere. And therefore, it's this work together of the structure that is able, that has all the characteristics to fulfill the strategy that leads to deployments. And so to explain to you how this exactly works, and especially how this can be part of your thinking for any company, especially when you're starting out, and the benefits of thinking about this before it becomes a problem, I would like to hand it over to Sophie, who will conduct us along the rest of our journey. And at the end, we will have the chance to have a Q&A, and we can openly discuss what this means to you, and how you've encountered these issues yourselves, and what learnings you can take from this. So, Sophie.
Hi, everyone. Okay, if you remember the video that we just saw, have you seen that we are showing structures, you know, always structures and how they interact, you know, how a structure is bringing together everything. When we talk about a startup, we always have a vision, you know, this is what we want to achieve in When we want to achieve something, we said, okay, in order to achieve that, we have a strategy. And then we have very good intentions, all the intentions is how to build it. But then we understand that with all those intentions, we start to build something, it's like a little baby. And then when the baby grows, we understand that, yes, we have the people, but we need to understand what roles those people need to have in the organization and how we can structure that in order to get the operations keep going. So what is very interesting is that we are used to work with very large companies, and now we have startups asking us to help them. Why? Because they understand that, yes, they have the intention, yes, they have the people, but we need to align them. We need to align the people. We need to understand exactly how they are going to grow together and how every one of those persons working in a small organization, are going to work together in the future. And this is about the structure. If we talk about very large organization, we understand also that very often we ask very large strategy companies to help us, to put together what is next step for us, and we have beautiful charts, where we want to be, what is the benchmark, what is the world going to become tomorrow. And this is what you need to do, guys. And suddenly we have CEOs of organizations telling us, okay, this is wonderful. How am I going to do this? And the how is about integrating the internal resources that we have and the structure that will help them to focus to achieve their strategy. So we work in terms of understanding what are we talking about, because a structure is not only about having a hierarchy, but it's also having integrating this hierarchy into doing together, some work, some tasks that are going to help us achieving our strategy. So we have decided and we have developed, the fact, according to requisite organization, the fact that in order to have a structure working properly and interacting with people, we need to have a vertical alignment and we need to have an horizontal alignment. And I'm going to propose you today how we do the vertical alignment and how we do the horizontal one. If you can go next step, please. Vertical alignment is about understanding that, oh, you can keep going. I just said that already. Vertical alignment is about saying, okay, there is only one captain on board, Whenever you are, whatever company you are, there is someone who is really saying where we are going. And when you have this person saying when we are going, then we have more people helping that person to achieve this vision. And this is where we talk about vertical alignment, because in every company, we have people that are going to do the operational work, and this operational work is what we used to say, it's more tactical, it's about doing every day, what needs to be done in order to bring to the company, in fact, the possibilities to have some money, to provide a product, And this is for us where we have tactical work. What is the definition of tactical work? It's about processes, it's about how to do something, it's about making really money today, it's about making sure that everything today is going to work properly. Above that, we have the planning, So yes, we do technical work, but above the technical work, we have the planning. This is what we talk about operations, Operations is about providing a planning, of if this is not working tomorrow, what is the alternative of what we are going to do after tomorrow? And this is really about the top management already saying, okay, what alternatives do we have in order for our business, our tactical business today is going to continue to survive tomorrow? And above that, we have the vision. The vision is about strategic work, and strategic work is about really making people understanding what is the frame, where we are going. If I take, for example, a fleet, we have a strategy to go to the North Pole, for example, and we have a fleet to go there. So the fact that we talk about going to the North Pole is great, but then we need to understand the how. The how is going to say, okay, what is the road we are going to take? You know, are we going to take the South Road? Are we going to take the East Road or the West Road? So this is really about the vision, saying how we are going to achieve the vision. So all this is part of the strategic work. Going back into my fleet, you know, for operational work, what is the operational work is to understand the size of each ship in this fleet. You know, is this ship big enough in order to achieve, you know, the North Road, you know, or the West Road, you know, and what do I have, what do I need in this ship in order to achieve this work, you know. Tactical is going to be, I have the machines, I have food. How do I organize the food every day? How much fuel do I need to do that? This is about, I would say, the vertical alignment that we need in any company. When we're talking about a startup, you know, we have many people doing a little bit of everything. And in fact, a startup will be really very professional the day we start to really change and say, okay, some people will do this tactical work, some people will do this operational work, and this is the strategic work that needs to be done. In a startup, it's very difficult to define this because everyone wants to participate in all the decision, but this is not going to work. You need people to are responsible for the P&L, you need people responsible for a balance sheet, and you need people to be responsible for the system, you know, all the governance and the goodwill. The same, you don't need the same kind of people doing this work, not only because they don't need to think the same way, but also because the kind of management style is different. When you do a startup, you know, you go into inspiration. You know, inspiration is here. Most of the work is around inspiration, but then you need to understand and you feel that inspiration is not enough. You need from one end to have excellence, you know, excellence work, which is really running on a daily basis, but you also need wisdom because you need to understand what's next. So you see, when we talk about vertical alignment, we talk about an ecosystem, you know, that is going to align completely what is tactical, what is operational, and what is strategic. So this is the first kind of alignment that we really help companies to do. A major company needs to have a CEO who is going to work with the shareholder about the vision. Then this CEO needs to have people who translate this vision into operations everywhere. You know, what do we do in sales? What do we do in production? What do we do in marketing? What do we do in IT? And those people are going to put each of them, you know, the part that they need. And under them, you will have people that every day will say, okay, we sell, well, I don't know, whatever. We sell paper or we sell books or we sell stories, you know, and this is the content. It's about the tactical work that needs to be done every day. Now, vertical alignment is one of the elements to succeed, you know, when you grow a company. But there is a second one that is even more important for me, you know, because you can work with a vertical alignment that is maybe not too good, but also if this vertical work hasn't got any glue, you know, in between the layers and in between the kind of work that you have, it doesn't work. So we have also a horizontal alignment that integrates into the vertical. This is very important. Next one. Next one. Yes. So businesses today, you know, we love to talk about running the business, about changing the business, about disrupting the business. I think that these are wording that you hear nearly every day. You know, many companies talk about running and changing. Not many talk about disrupting. And in fact, running a business, you know, is about saving money. It's about operational excellence. This is where you do all the work so that tomorrow morning you have enough money. Making more money is finding ways within the business that you are doing today, that can help you to increase your market share, increase your profitability. It's about, for example, you are only in Moscow and you want to develop in the region. It's the same business, but you will make more money because you open more regions. It's about, if you're a retailer, if you are in supermarkets, to have convenience stores, It's about, changing a little bit what you're doing, but staying in the same business. When you start to want to make more money, you cannot have the same people doing this as the one that are running the daily operations, because you need to keep your excellence. You need to keep your operational excellence. When you want to make more money, you need to build, I would say, an ambidextrous, organization that is mirroring your business, smaller but mirroring the business that you have, that is going really to work for the expansion of what you do. And then we have make new money. It's about disrupting the business. The major disruption of the business that we have had over the last few years is about e-commerce, it's about marketplace. This is completely new. This is something that is unknown. We don't know exactly where we are going, and most of it, we don't know if one day we're going to make money with e-commerce. It's about those new concepts, where we say we need to try. This is where the trend is, but we know nothing about it. So we need to be completely inventive about it. So in every organization today, if you want to survive, not only you need to have a great organization, but you also need to understand how you structure this organization within running the business, changing the business, or disrupting the business. And this has to be in a frame. This is what when we talk about the governance, about the global strategy, about the systems, that are going to regulate, this work on one end. The second end is, you cannot run a business, you cannot change a business or make a new business if we don't have support. What is support? Support is about legal, support is about finance, support is about maybe logistics, support is about HR. These are functions that are going to really feed the business with all the resources that they need so that they can continue in their own direction. Please stop me if something is not very clear for you. Do you have questions at this stage? Yes. Okay, next one then. Here we are talking about the structure, but also what is happening is that, let's say that, okay, we have a great structure, vertical, we have different layers, everyone knows what they are doing, everyone is adding value to the next hierarchical level, and also we have, yes, we have people running the business, we have people that are changing it, but then how do we make those people talking to each other? How do we make everyone in the organization communicating, understanding their relationship, understanding their authorities, understanding their responsibilities? And this is when we integrate here in our horizontal alignment how people should talk to each other. When we are someone who is in charge of governance or the legal structure of a company, this function should prescribe the rest of the organization, what is the frame in terms of the legal frame. If we have a function, that is HR and is counting the number of people that we need, this function should be able to oversee if we don't have too many people or not enough people, We have also, for example, the profitability. We need to understand if the auditor can monitor, how the profitability is going in terms of what is happening in an organization. We also need to have people who advise us, for example, PR, GR, typically advisors in an organization, We have people who need to coordinate, yes, because when a business is about changing and it becomes big enough, it can stay as a running business. So we need to coordinate how it happens. And then we need to have everyone in the organization collaborating to each other. So you see, when we talk about an organization, we have many words, it's about helping, implementing, regulating. And I've seen about 100 names, talking about the working relations within the organization. And in fact, you have only 6 of them. The 2 last ones, it's about when we service a function. The service provider is a shared service center. A service provider is a talent acquisition within an organization. The receiver is the function that is getting service. This is also regulated. So as you see, when we build organizations, and when we help organizations to structure themselves around a strategy and a vision, we always try to put together those 3 elements so that we have a continuity and we have a real possibility to become immune to the context. Whenever you have a great hierarchy with people understanding what kind of job they are doing and they understand their relations to the others, I can tell you that we have an organization that is completely immune to any context. And this is what is working about the requisite organization. Can we have the next one? Okay. Now, it's very interesting because everyone says, okay, you talk about the structure, you talk about the relations, but then who is going to be in that kind of organization? What is interesting is that, you remember I told you some people are specialized in running the business today, in doing tactical work. Some people are specialized, in operational work, looking at tomorrow, the what if, and we have the strategic thinking of the people looking at the vision. In fact, what we do is that we completely match the level of the structure, with the people that are in the structure, because not everyone will have a vision, not everyone is capable of thinking of a strategy. But the same way, not everyone can really run a small operations and to be an outstanding manager. And in fact, what we do is that we match structure and people, and we use the internal resources to match the structure, the role, the task, and the people that we have in the organization. And also, next one, please. And also what we do is that we make sure that every person feels in flow, which means that every person has exactly the complexity of the work that his or her working capability allows. We have also understood that if we give a too complex job to someone, the person will be very anxious, will have perplexity, will miss communication, will be maybe too tough or completely amorph compared to his or her subordinates. At the opposite, if we put someone in a job complexity that is too low compared to his or his capability, we will have people whose motivation is going to drop, whose performance is going to drop because they will be interested by something outside of the company, or they will not find anywhere the purpose of their job, So it's very important that whenever you look at a company and when you start a company, you really analyze your people and you really understand who can do what and when and how this person is going to grow over time. And this is what we name the flow. Next one. This flow, is very important, not only for individuals, but also for a company. It is very interesting. To my experience now in Russia, I can tell you that I've never seen such an interesting, I would say, paradox, in organizations. I have seen organizations that when you come and see them and you talk to them, you have the impression, that everyone can do whatever they want. So yes, you have this impression, you do whatever you want. And then when you look inside the company, you see that, yes, you can do whatever you want, but you can do nothing because the processes are such that you just cannot even get out of your room, with your telephone to call because the telephone will not work outside the room, So in fact, this is exactly the problem that we have in any organization, is that because we don't have the right people doing the job at their level of capability and really understanding their roles and the purpose of their job, you know, we have inside the company to compensate this very, very strong processes and very difficult decision-making processes. So this, in fact, this slide, if you just remember only one slide in this presentation, you should keep this one, because you will see that, and you will see where you work maybe, that in fact, depending on how rigid officially you are, how diffuse you can be inside and how diffuse you are outside, how rigid you can be inside, and that you really need to have a flow where you compensate exactly what people can do with the processes that enable them to do it. I think that's it, yes, for today. Do you have questions? Do you have comments? Is there something that is sounding strange for you in everything I've been saying?
I would like us to, I would like us now to, I would like us now to, you know,
Open discussion.
get a chance to discuss, because I mean we've all run into these issues and we all observe how these things happen. So let's hear it from you, Sergey.
Sophie, Jose, thank you very much for providing the framework for analysis. I would ask the question how to turn it in a very practical manner, how to diagnose the type of issues that organization already experience.
Okay, you know, it's a very much routine process. In order to understand really how an organization is working, you need to talk to the people inside the organization. And in fact, there is a huge work that we are always doing with every organization, is to talk to people. We talk to people and we don't talk only to the top management, because you know the top management is always going to give you a really nice story, and then you need to understand what's happening inside, you know. So for example, when we take an organization of, I would say, 15,000 people, I would interview personally at least 100, 150 people in different functions at different level to really understand what's going on, to cross-check what I hear, you know, each time. And then I make the assumptions and I run the assumptions with the CEO, you know. And whenever you want to run assumptions with the CEO, you better have exact facts, because they don't like to hear everything I'm going to tell them, you know. So it's about interviewing. But when I'm talking about interviewing people, it's not about understanding who they are, you know. It's all about work. It's about asking them what is their role, what are their tasks, what are the tasks of their subordinates, what are the pain points that they have, you know, and each time, you know, is trying to understand what they say, compare that to what say others, you know, and this is how you understand really exactly what is going inside an organization.
Got it. You mentioned the size of the organization. I understand this tool is for huge companies, but how to do a self-assessment, you know, for people that are starting organizations or leading at the beginning?
I think that it works with any kind of organization. I'm right now starting to do that for an organization that has 50 people, you know, so it doesn't matter. But then I will interview the 50 people. How you can do that yourself, it's very easy. I gave you, there are 4 questions you need to ask, yes? The essence of your job, your task, if you have subordinates, the task of your subordinates, and that what are the pain points? Or in other words, if you were the king of the day, what would you do? What would you be doing differently? Yourself, you can go inside your organization and start to talk to people. The most important here is that they need to trust you. you know. So you really need to make sure when you communicate to your people that you're here to help them, to help the process and not to judge them. That is very, very important. And I would say that any person in the organization can do this job, you know, as long as the person has wisdom to really understand. And at the beginning, don't make any comments on who the person is. It's really about the job. You cannot understand an organization if you do not start with the task and the job. But you can do it in a small organization like a big one, you know, has nothing to do with the size of the organization. Of course, the complexity of the work that is going to be made in smaller organization is different, but that's not an issue. It's you to really assess then how it works.
Got it. And if I'm a CEO of an organization, how would I understand that I have a problem at play somewhere in my structure?
Well, usually they ask me to do that for them because the CEO has no time to do that. But you know what? If you have a very strong OD person in the organization, that person can do it. But you need an OD. You don't need an HR.
So Sophie, not in terms of like who does it, but how am I as a CEO understand that I have a problem in the structure and I have to reach out either for internal resources or external help?
Very easy. You have many initiatives, you know, but nothing is happening. You feel that people never change. They always tell you the same. You feel that you ask something, but you don't see results. You feel that you want to grow, but you don't have the people to grow. You feel that there is something wrong with your management team. People do not seem to work together very well. Typically, you will tell yourself, okay, this guy is a very strong professional, but you know, his team, something is wrong in the team, you know, it's not working properly. I don't get the information when I want to get it. I'm doing an acquisition and I don't know what's happening in the acquisition. So that means that I don't have the people who can understand what is happening. You know, each time you have, or maybe you have some of your people, trusted people in the organization should tell you, you know, our processes, they are not working. You know, something is happening. Maybe one day you want to take your car and you have asked someone to fix your car because you didn't have, I mean, I don't know, for example, petrol, and you arrive in the evening, your driver said, I couldn't make, I couldn't get some petrol because the procedure was 2 days and not 2 hours. You know, the CEO, he sees that you have many signs, you know. And if you are a CEO who is really concerned by the company, the CEO will say, I don't understand. We have many investments. I said to people that we can invest in something. Last year, for example, we decided to invest, I don't know what, 1 million in that direction. And we are now in June. I don't see anyone asking me for money. What does that mean? That means that there is a process that is not working. You know, you have many, many ways to look at it.
Got it. Thank you, Sophie.
Anyone?
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, Maria, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for the very interesting presentation. It was really useful. And I would like to just clear something for myself. So when I, just clarification, I work myself in organizational design. So my question comes from my practice. When you create a draft of the new structure, what comes first, the roles and position you should have there, or the real people who work in organization? So what it means, sometimes someone from business comes to me and says, yes, I know the structure is this or that, but I have a particular person and I want to change my structure to fit to a particular person's skills or preferences.
Okay, Maria, I don't think that a structure can adapt to a person,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know that in an organization, we have a limited number of resources. So what I'm doing is that I look at what the work should be done, what kind of work we should be doing, what kind of focus we need to have, and I start to draw the ideal organization, what should be the ideal. And then I have the people and I say, okay, what is happening? If I have, for example, a position where I don't have anyone in the organization, and I understand that maybe I could split the role in two parts to make it better, and then to have the right people to do it, I would talk to the CEO and explain why I'm proposing this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you have roles and you say, sorry, you don't have the competence in the organization. This role needs to be created. And I need to say why, obviously, yes. And here, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we need to find someone outside, So it's not about first the structure and two, the people. It's about putting them together. And sometimes you make accommodation, but I would never create a job for someone.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, is wrong most of the time, because, organizations start to work very badly when you create a role for someone and then there are no tasks in this role.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's very important that you understand the size of the role that you're creating. You understand the capability of the people that you have in the organization. And sometimes I would split it, but I will explain why.
Mm-hmm.
I never go to, I always have my ideal organization, but I always have plan A and B, so that I can discuss with the CEO and say, okay, this is the ideal structure. Now, because we have this, and this here, maybe we could have first step like this, second step like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is telling me you need to put that person into that, I would say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm the right person for your organization.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Got it.
I think that's one interesting thing that happens. Because it's about human nature, is that many times, as I think we have all observed, and I would like to hear your experience, everyone's experience on this, is that, first of all, job descriptions are sometimes only a starting point and are only a reference, because the reality is very, very different. The work that the person does is very, very different from what is in the job description. And then another thing we observe, it has to do with the willpower of the people, because some people end up taking more pieces of work beyond their original remit just because they have a very strong personality, and other people, they're subject to that. Now, this can cause many problems, because the company is not working as somebody thought that it should. It's working along the lines of who is more powerful and who imposes his or her will with greater strength. And therefore, and then what you have is somehow a mismatch between what should be done and what is being done, and you're constantly finding workarounds. And that kind of Game of Thrones scenario happens many times, and that's why you need a strongly thought out structure that can even the playing field, because otherwise you'll end up with the pure and simple competition.
Okay, thank you for the comments.
Where do you work, Maria? Where do you do organizational design?
Yes, I work in organizational design for X5 Retail Group. I don't know if you probably know the company.
Yes, I do know the company. I know well retail also.
Yeah, so there is a lot of work, as you can imagine, in a big holding company with complicated structure.
Yeah, and I think that all the commercial is very interesting. The buying process, the way you supply the stores, and the fact that you have different business units. This is very interesting. Yes.
Yes, and the level of maturity of businesses is different. That's why I was interested in your topic, just because we also have some startup level businesses.
Yes, but as I said to you, startups, you need to completely exclude it from business as usual. If you do that, you know, it's going to be very, very difficult to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, that's it.
Okay, I have a question for everyone. I mean, nobody's forced to answer, obviously, but I'm kind of curious to know from all of you. I mean, how you see this topic, organizational design. I mean, what when you hear these words, what does it make you feel, if it makes you feel anything?
You mentioned Game of Thrones, so that would be my first connection in my mind. That's how I describe my job sometimes.
Yeah, but be careful, Maria. You need to be very, very careful not to be lost in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes people will start to give you things and you will say, well, not sure this is going to work. So better say it before than after.
Yeah, true.
I have personally a very different associations with organizational design. Typically, it's like football. Most people believe that they're experts in it and they have a lot of advice on how to achieve success. But actually, nobody wants to do the hard work. Nobody wants to train. Nobody wants to select talent. Nobody wants to put the right process in place. But everybody thinks that they know better. Just buy this star or make this combination and it will work.
But
Like football.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that's very interesting what you're saying, because in fact, you know, my personal experience shows that, you know, we tend to talk to McKinsey or BCG, you know, and you ask them to do the strategy and the structure, you know. And what is very, very interesting is that they do a great job. You know, I have nothing to say here in terms of strategy, in terms of benchmarking, in terms of what is your ideal structure. But then, you know, they give you a beautiful book, you know, and you have this book in front of you and you say, okay, so yeah, I thought I was an expert, but now what do I do with this, you know? And I think that this is where I believe we start to work, you know, we start to work in saying, okay, let's take this big book, you know, so it's going to be long, you know, but let's take the big book, you know, and say, okay, what do they say we should be doing? And after that, we say, okay, now let's see how we can achieve that, you know. And in fact, as you said, you know, it's the how, you know, everyone is an expert in everything, but then when you have to do it, you know, this is the how, this is where everyone is lost. Because everyone wants to be a project owner, you know, and then no one really understands what a project owner is. And then you have a project manager, and the poor project manager hasn't got a project owner. And then you have a project when you have responsibility, but you don't have authorities. So this is where it starts, you know, it's when the big mess starts, you know, is when you have this beautiful book and okay, we do it. You give it to someone, just do it. It doesn't work this way. You have to look at everything step by step, you know, and this is becoming not an expert, but a team, I would say part of the team, you know, who says, hey guys, okay, we have 1,000 pages. Let's start with the 10 first one. What can we do? How can we do it? Is it working? And how we can go further.
I like the football analogy because me being Portuguese and football being an obsession of my country, not of myself, but of my country, we have, I mean, like in English, you have the expression, the living room coach, right? I mean, you know everything, but I mean, you're in your living room and you have all the opinions. If you remember the last slides that Sophie presented, when you have the different kinds of management styles from diffuse to rigid, there is sometimes also the understanding, and coming to your point about everybody thinking they know how things should be done, there is sometimes this thinking that, you know, it takes a lot of pressure to create diamonds. So if everybody's under pressure, somehow things will work out. I mean, if I load people up and if I really push them to the limits, things will really happen. And what we see is that it doesn't. So also a lot of this work is about, how can I say, disassembling or calling into question myths, because I mean, everybody has, the people who always claim they have no theory are always people that have a theory. Probably it's a theory that's wrong or that's incomplete. And a lot of the work that we do, and I mean, those here who have had to touch the subject of organizational design have felt it, part of the work is to really debunk some myths, some mythologies in the company about how people work, how things get done. So first of all, I think that the first work is to see what's behind what people say, to understand what is really happening. And only then can you start to work. Do we have any more questions, any comments before we say our goodbyes? Okay, I see that no, very well. What I mean, I would like to express, you know, my thanks to you for taking interest in this, for you to be willing to share your experiences with us. For us, it's always a pleasure to talk to people, because we believe that this is profoundly useful. We will be sharing the recording of this session, and we will have another session towards the end of the month where everyone will be duly notified, because there are, I mean, as you saw and as you probably know, this is a very rich theme. It cannot be exhausted in 1 hour, and it's much better to take it by parts rather than do the whole thing, because then we want to touch on other things, like the magic word engagement, what it is and why it's not what it should be. But I hope we get a chance to speak again, because I think we have a lot to discover together. I don't know, Sophie, would you like to say something?
Yes, I'd like to say that for the one who are interested, I suggest that next time I talk to you about the correlation between the complexity of a job, you know, and the kind of capability you need to have in order to achieve a job, you know. Because this is very important in order, Maria, for you, for example, you know, if you're in organizational design, you know, it's very important that we have this flow. And in order to have this flow, we need to match the complexity of a job and the capacity of a person. And if you're interested, next time I can show you the correlation, how we can get the right person at the right place and get this flow, you know, in an organization. If you're interested, I propose that we do that.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. So, thank you.
Because I think that if you have just the part of the organization, it's not enough to do the org design, you know, and I think that you need to match that with capabilities. And this is how you go into the internal resources.
That's absolutely right. I mean, actually, the theme of capability, that's a whole, you know, that's a whole thing. It's one of the, I mean, capability, potential, these things are discussed, are thrown around, and few people in the organizations take the time to understand what is capability. I mean, what is potential? What do we talk about when we talk about potential? But, you know,
going to be very rude to me, because we're going to approach the potential. What is potential, you know, and here it's becoming a bit more difficult. Maria, am I right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's going to be interesting. So if you want to join us for next, I'll be happy to discuss with you about what is potential, what is capability, you know, and how we match that with complexity.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice evening, a great weekend, and I hope that we'll talk again in about 2-3 weeks, three weeks time. Yes, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Thank
you all.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks.